the girl there, the winger, has some like nice feet, really good moves. But other than her, like overall, when I watch the game, I don't see.
It's more kick and run, than it is skill. And also their competition, Dave, their good competition is extremely limited. Joe.
Right. I think that's the thing too. My caveat would be, when you see competitive teams playing at the same level, then that's good. Then that's good competition. I find that enjoyable to watch. As a sports fan, I like a good high school game. I like a good college. I like anything where teams are more or less evenly matched. And I understand, like with the NFL, Bill Belichick was talking about it. Was talking about how different it is from the college football game in American football.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the same is true with professional soccer and European soccer versus American soccer and college soccer. But it just seems like the games that I've seen where the U.S. women have been medal games. So they've been playing good competition. So probably that's the soccer I've seen. I just think it's really entertaining to watch. I think it's good soccer.
It's good. It's definitely good. I just find myself not choosing to watch it. I'd rather watch, this Olympics, I watch more women's softball and basketball than I did soccer, even though I'm a huge soccer fan.
I agree.
And you just think, don't you think sometimes when soccer's played at a really high level, that there is something like, for example, the ball is played back
a lot,
and there's not a real charge on the ball because the defender knows that it's a bad decision to try and charge the player because of the high.
Someone charges you, you walk right by him.
Right, the high skill level.
Yeah.
So it actually makes the game, to my mind, there are parts of it that I find a little less interesting than maybe players that aren't quite as skilled.
But are you saying the women do press, and you're saying the men don't?
No, I'm saying I don't know anything about. Mostly, I'm saying I don't know much about soccer. But
what you're describing drives a lot of people away.
Yep.
But it is a chess match, and the more you play it and the more you watch it, you'll start to appreciate why they're going back, side to side, back. All the time.
Really, because they're trying to move the field.
Yeah.
They're trying to basically shift the field, and by shifting, eventually they'll wind up with a
little pocket of space because the other team's slower shifting over than they should have been because they've already shifted 3 times.
Yeah.
They find that one pass, now they can turn and go to net.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the chess match.
So when you look at, Dave, no matter whether it's 6-year-old kids or professional soccer players, soccer comes down to mainly 3 things, really, in order to win a game. One is how long you have the ball for.
Mm-hmm.
Are you winning the 50-50 balls? So it's time of possession, 50-50 balls. And also guys who can put the ball in the net.
Yeah.
Those are really the 3 big things.
The ball in the net?
If you take a look at most soccer games when they end and you look at the statistics, you'll see the team that has the most time of possession and the team that wins the most 50-50 balls and has the most corner kicks are going to be your winners at the end of the day.
Yeah. The women would add how much you're getting paid. That would have 4th caveat to that.
The 4th caveat.
Because while you're winning that 50-50, you're thinking, how much am I making? No.
See, now it's funny because not being a huge soccer fan, I would think that the big difference when 2 teams play would be the one that scores more goals than the other would be the team that would win the game.
Don't simplify this beautiful game.
You're simplifying an already simple game.
Okay. You're not, so I'm the one simplifying an already simple game, and I should make it more complicated because it'll be more enjoyable.
I agree. If you really, like Paul said, if you have somebody that plays chess very well compared to somebody playing checkers.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You play up against somebody who plays chess very well, that is like soccer. Every one of these coaches, every one of these players are playing chess on that field. And it's how you're going to move that ball, where the weaknesses are. You're always testing weaknesses. Who's the weak fullback? And you're going to push the ball in that direction. If you sit down and you analyze it, to me, it's a simple game. Soccer ball, cheap to play, real easy. Doesn't take a lot of brains, but it takes a lot of brains to play at a high level. And it takes a lot of brains how to think you're going to beat the other team.
Yeah.
That's what's entertaining, I think, for us, Paul, is that there is a lot of thinking to soccer. People don't understand that it's not just kick the ball and run.
Yeah. As each level that my son went up, like when he was at the Revs, I would pick his brain. What does the coach teach you? Because I would take it to my team because they're higher than me. Yeah. Then he got to Division I college. I'm like, what did the coach teach you? And I would take that. But then, we talked about Bruce Arena last week. If you listen to Bruce Arena talk soccer, if you watch, you would understand what he's talking about. If you listen or read Pep Guardiola, I'm like, what is he talking about? He's got 3 guys in the middle. He's talking about the angles, and if this 4th guy comes in, he has to come in at this. And I'm like, what?
Not geometry.
Yeah.
What a way to ruin a game, geometry. It's like pool. Pool was such a great game until they said it's all about geometry. And I'm like, forget it.
Well, let me give you a football analogy, and not a football analogy, an American football analogy.
You know why? Wait. You know why pool is ruined by geometry?
Are you talking about billiards?
Billiards. Billiards.
Okay.
Pool. You know why billiards is ruined?
It's a great segue.
I thought you were talking about a swimming pool, which, by the way, would help that shirt out.
It needs a lot of chlorine.
That's a lot of sweat there. Listen, some of us sweat. Well, some of us sweat for a living. That's what we do.
Well, I'm on edge about this pool analogy. Go ahead.
All right, in billiards. You know why geometry ruins billiards?
Why?
Because you can't do math when you're drinking. At least I can't. All right, what were we saying? Your American football.
I was going to use an American football analogy. You ever see the show Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
I'm sure people on this have watched Hard Knocks before. Yeah. And you get 2 300-pound guys. Same size, same weight. And you ever see them coaching them up on how to rush the passer or how to block? Has nothing to do with how much you can bench lift, how much weight you are. It has to do with leverage, angles. Same thing Paul was talking about with that coach. It's all about this and that, moving an inch here and an inch there. Soccer is the same way. You laugh, but...
So you're saying these football players are wasting their time in the weight room?
No, but what I'm saying is what they're saying is that if you have 2 players that are the same size, weight, and everything...
The one with the better technique wins. I know.
That's where we're going.
I was just mocking you.
Well, I'm just bringing up Paul's little talk about the coach, talking about a little angle here and a little angle there.
Before we get off this topic, I did my homework. I actually read the agreement between the men's and the women's.
Oh, great.
And there's one clause, they buried it. No one will ever see it. It was like paragraph 12, section C. It just said, Megan Rapinoe's a bitch. So they just threw it in there. I'm sure they're going to sign off on it. It's not going to be
Paul, honestly, I don't think that needed to be buried, to be honest with you. I think that's actually...
All right, moving on. Are we good with this topic? We ready to move on to the next one?
Did we solve it? I think we solved it.
Message to our producer, cancel calls to Rapinoe to come onto the podcast for an interview. Just make sure you write that down.
The next thing I want to talk about is college soccer and developing your soccer player. My daughter is 15, and at this point, I've decided that she'll never get a soccer scholarship, and I base that on the fact that her greatest games were played in the Gillette Stadium parking lot, and her greatest contribution was to chase down the balls that rolled off the pitch and into the gully. So
does she even play?
No. Oh. No. She played 1 year, and she's, but so guys, we know that not everyone who goes to college is smart. So how did you guys get your boys into college?
From our wives. Why don't you go ahead, Paul, because you have your sons taking it all the way to the level.
Well, I think the steps have changed from when Jim and I played, I think drastically. So when I played, he basically just wanted to play in high school. There was no clubs.
Yep.
Okay.
Pulse was important. You had a pulse?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
You wanted to drink on the weekends. Okay. You would apply to schools that had soccer teams. There wasn't a lot of recruiting. There wasn't a lot of conversations going on. In my case, getting some major trouble off the field, hire a lawyer, and then start the season in the fall. Here we go.
And don't forget,
I would think you're getting into trouble in the field.
There was no computers back then. At least ones that had a lot.
Am I correct to say that getting into trouble off the field helped to raise your profile in the press and some more soccer teams knew about you?
Yes. I grew up in Dedham, and so there was a woman named Judy Withington who was sort of one of the pioneers of, we're playing every weekend on Saturdays, playing town travel, but the better players, maybe they should play on Sundays, play on a second team. People are like, what are you talking about? She got together with some people and they formed the Bolts, which is still around, which is a club team.
Yeah.
So now everyone plays club. In fact, they abandon town travel if they're a good player by the time they're 11 or 12.
Right.
Because they're going to get better coaching and they're going to play better players and travel out of state.
Yep.
So I think my son, my oldest, started about U13, started playing club. I formed my own club, and eventually said, "Dad, we suck. I need to go play in a big club. I need you to fork over some money.
Yeah, it's
enough of you making a few bucks running a club." So, anyways, you get in these clubs, and then coaches come. They know who the players are. They're following it online. They're going to games, recruiting, and you just have to be really aggressive. You have to keep emailing them. If your coach played in college, you could go to them and ask them, "Do you know any of these college coaches? Do you know anyone who knows the head coach of Clemson?"
Right. And am I correct to say that coaches know coaches?
Yeah.
I mean, because they play in the over 30s, they play in the over 40s, they play together in college, or maybe they just whatever. They've the high school coaches at some point have had interaction with a college coach. So maybe you've got another player who wants to go to that college, and he's not highly recruited, he's not on their radar, but at least you can call him up and say, "Hey, I got a kid who's interested in your school. He might be a good addition for your team." Is that basically the way it works?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about taking a picture of Pele and putting my daughter's face over Pele's face and sending that to schools.
She doesn't even play, Dave. How dumb do you think these schools are?
I don't know. It's just an idea.
Sending her, Dave. I'd love to know these colleges.
Well, you know something? I actually had a great idea. She's really, really smart. All right. So I'm thinking basically for her college boards, I'll hire Jim to take the college boards for her. And that way we don't have to spend out a lot of money for college.
So you think you're going to get a white-faced black person recruited to a college?
Now that's diversity, though. Hey,
maybe Pele would not be a great choice, but you know what I'm saying.
Now, also back, just so you know, remember we talked about kids peaking at certain ages. Mm-hmm. You could have a U13 through U16 kid or U17 kid that is probably a bench player on his varsity soccer team. Mm-hmm. I would highly recommend that they still pick the college. You still pick the college you think you can play for and be a walk-on. Go to the colleges, take a look at the teams. They have club teams there as well, but give it a shot. I mean, that's what I did. I walked in and I gave it a shot. Like I said, I didn't become a varsity athlete till my senior year, and I was a walk-on in 2 colleges. And
there's so much.
Works.
2.
Yeah. We'll get into that later. That'll be episode number 3. I played for 2 colleges.
You played for 2 colleges. It's funny that one of them doesn't want to claim you.
I was traded for a bag of balls.
Well, of course, it's funny. I know people I know somebody. Gosh, I'm gonna find out how many schools she played for. But she was a really good player, Division I, and new coach comes in, wants their style.
Yep.
Doesn't want your son or daughter, so you wind up basically transferring. Knee injuries, particularly with female soccer, a big issue. You miss a season. Maybe that's your chance to transfer to a better or a lesser school. It's there's a lot of movement. I know athletes in various sports. They don't play. They decide to go to another school or maybe the program. And I know this is something you guys probably never dealt with, but they were interested in fields of study, and they decided they were interested in a field of study that they offered at a different school, so they transferred. Mm-hmm. Study is when you go to class and you read the book.
Confused me there. Yeah. The field part's good.
I'll run that by my kids.
Yeah.
So I know you trained your sons, Paul.
Yeah.
Did you use a taser?
I did not. I will recommend a great book. So when my son was playing for the Revs, they told everyone on the team to read a book called The Talent Code. Have you heard of it?
No.
By Daniel Coyle.
The Talent Code?
Code by Daniel Coyle, which of course he didn't read. So I'm like, I'm going to read this thing. And that book blew my mind, and it changed kind of the way I trained. And
is he still alive, Daniel Coyle?
Yes.
Maybe write that down, producer. That might be somebody we could have at our podcast.
That would be great.
That sounds like a great guest to have. I'm sure his phone's ringing off the hook from people like you, Dave.
I recommended that book recently to a guy who doesn't even have a kid in soccer, and he texted me and said, "This book's amazing." So, really amazing, yeah.
What's
the gist of it? The gist of it is when you train, if you're doing something you can already do, like let's say you can juggle. You go out and juggle 100 times in the yard, you're not getting any better. You've already acquired that skill. It's similar to walking. You don't get better at walking by walking. But a baby, when it can't walk, as it learns to walk, it develops what's called myelin. It wraps your sheath around your nerves, so your brain is able to talk to your legs and you walk. So in soccer, you can apply it to anything, but in soccer, if you can already do something, stop doing it.